From the dealership where the scan tool knows more than the manager, welcome to Fixed Ops Focus with Dave Rogers and Steve Shaw. Dave, the silver tongue service advisor, and Steve, the guy who can spot a bad alternator from 3 bays away and still get blamed for it.
Hey, Steve Shaw, welcome back to Fixed Ops Focus. How you doing, buddy?
Dave, welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah. How's things going there in the lovely Southern Florida training world?
The training world is amazing. It is off the chart. I can't believe my phone is ringing more than I could ever imagine. Maybe it's just my head's ringing. No, my phone is ringing more than ever. I guess fixed ops is where it's at. I guess people need what? Focus on their fix.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think the buzz this year, everything I see, other podcasts, the Car Business Channel, LinkedIn and stuff. I mean, yeah, the buzz is fixed ops. So I anticipate this being a big year for training and actually for the business. So that's great. It's good.
Yeah, my calendar, going to the convention and get ready for the convention, that type of thing, it's filling up. It's amazing how many conversations are about fixed ops. I never thought, if you'd asked me 15 years ago when I started, would I be busy for 3 days with appointments at the convention, I'd have probably went, I hope so.
Right. Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, it's great. Where did we leave off the last time, though? We were talking prepaid maintenance, right?
Yeah, prepaid or I guess to clarify it, the maintenance that's included with the new car warranty, right? I would
Yeah,
say
right.
I would say that's a different thing than, the technical prepaid maintenance, but yeah, the warranty maintenance that comes with the new car that you buy.
The warranty and maintenance. It sounded like you had a strong opinion of factory warranty maintenance sold with a new car. I kind of remember being in a class with you once where I think we called it the Dave rant, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on warranty maintenance.
We're going to save my rant for the other rant on maintenance. So to give everyone to give you obviously and a little background and stuff. So back in the early 90s, Hyundai came out with a program called Value Care Maintenance. That was the first time I'd ever heard it. Hyundai obviously at the time, cheaper cars. Hyundai Financial was buying, subprime paperwork. They weren't necessarily, your customers of today, right? So they felt a way to get the customers in because they probably having a hard time affording these cars and paying for maintenance on the car. They included 3 maintenance services in the car: the 7,500-mile service, the 15, and the 22.5. They included 1 set of wiper blades, and they included an alignment, I believe, is all they included in this thing. Uh, Adjustments were covered under the 1212 normally. So we'd have customers come in because the salesman would tell them that maintenance is free for 2 years or whatever, 18 months. I think it was 18 months. And at the time, cars were using conventional oil. It was, 1030, 1040, whatever it was. We used to change the oil every 4,000 miles, right? So everybody was programmed. The customers were programmed to bring the car in every 4,000 miles. Everybody was then. They'd come in and they'd say, I want to get my oil changed. The dealership I had worked at, they were giving away, they thought about giving away the first oil change free at 3 months, 37.5. They said, nah, they got cheap. And they said, we're just going to do the factory. So the customer would have to pay for the first oil change. 1995, this was, by the way. That's how much the oil change was. The
Exactly.
customer say the first thing, no, it's free. The 75, which is the oil change and tire rotation, that's free. But this intermediate oil change is not. No, just do the 75.
Yep.
Then they come
yep.
back in at 75, and because you could do it early, there was no guidelines. They come back in at 7,500 because they were trained to do that, and they'd say, "Well, give me the 15 because it's free." Don't I get wipers? Yeah, you get the wipers. Yeah, we do wipers. And then at the next service, 9 months into ownership, they're getting the 22.5, and you never see them again. They were done. Uh, and it was my first experience with it. Later on, I had one when I was at Mercedes. They were just getting ready to end their the maintenance that went with it. BMW's been doing it since probably the mid 90s, right? Maybe late 80s. They've been doing it for a while. But I learned a lesson back then is that these customers, part of it's the salespeople. They weren't telling them the truth. Everything's free, maintenance is free, whatever the case is. But that was my first experience with it, and I will tell you, it was an epic disaster, and I'll stand by the statement that it's still an epic disaster, and it's done for the wrong reasons. The manufacturer To give you a later example, 2003, 2002, Toyota changed their maintenance schedule. They went to a 0-20 oil, and they went to a 5,000-mile oil change with a tire rotation. That's what Toyota did. That was their recommendations. Prior to that was 7,500 miles with the conventional oil, and then we were always cutting it in half. But they 5,000 miles. That's what they did, and they did that for 5 years, I think, 6 years, and then they had their accelerator pedal problem,
Yeah.
and they lost a lot of customers, and people were scared and all that stuff because whatever. And then they had the brain surgeon idea to give people free maintenance for 2 years.
Just be careful how you talk about brain surgeons because I got a favorite one.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm sorry about that. So,
We love brain surgeons over here at Steve Shaw Training.
well, it took somebody that really didn't know anything about customers and people, and they made it a 2-year maintenance plan. But what they also did, they snuck in, was now the oil change interval was 10,000 miles, not 5. So the minute they had to start paying for it, that same car with the same oil, 0-20 synthetic oil, miraculously, it gets an extra 5,000 miles for the oil change. And you basically get 2 oil changes for free under that, right? I think it's up to 24,000 miles. And I don't work at a Toyota store anymore. We don't have any stores, but I've talked to people that tell me that, loyalty is what they're shooting for now. That now they're fighting to get customers back in.
Yeah.
They don't get paid or incentivized on CSI anymore. It's loyalty. Getting the customer back once a year after their warranty is up because they have such a hard time because you tell somebody something's free for 24 months. Why are they going to bring their car in and give you any money?
Yeah,
Just like I was
exactly.
talking the last time about, about the wheel balance and stuff like that. So,
Well, what I find funny is because we talk about this a lot in training. I have quite a few Toyota clients, a lot of training with Toyota stores, or even though some of them, some stores, Nissan or could be Ford, they might actually give the customer a free maintenance or be one of those oil change places where you get a free oil change or oil change for life. Some dealers are very good at the prepaid maintenance, and so we are training these customers so they don't have to spend any money when they come in. So I'm fighting the good fight for the dealer to teach someone how to actually sell, as you would say, right? As we talked about before, it is selling. We call it creating a need, we call it creating buyers and so on. But we have to get the customer, we want to get the customer to get comfortable spending their money because I know your rant, which you do so eloquently about the customers not spending money or waiting until the very end when they're out of their service, then they're used to not spending money with us. And that we ask them to open their wallet and they leave. It doesn't even matter that we gave them great service or free service for 3 years. "Oh, you want me to spend money? Oh, no, no, I'll either leave or trade it in and get this free program again." So I do believe I'm with you that we've got to, like your, Mazda service manager, giving them the balance.
right,
That's powerful, right?
right.
And we call it fries. Would you like fries with that? And adding that one additional item onto every repair order, even on a free service. I will tell you that I think Toyota service advisors are the hardest people to change their mindset because and I think Hondas are like this in some respects, but Toyota, when it comes to the free maintenance, Toyota says they don't need to spend any money, so I'm not
Right.
going to ask them. Honda says the lights on, that's when you service your car when the lights on. Slightly different scenario. But these advisors think, I'm working for the manufacturer, right? No, no, no. You are working for the man whose name is on the sign and the guy that signs your check. And our job is to make the customers make your vehicle last as long as humanly possible, give you the best care per se. And so we talk about having that customer service agent, taking care of the customer, and they don't realize that, having the customer buy something is good for business. It is good for the customer to understand that I do have to spend money to make my car last a long, long time.
Well, I think it's just back to the same narrative that you hear me rant about is it's you're not being truthful. The manufacturer, the F&I guy, the salesperson, that whole thing. They're just not being truthful. This isn't all the maintenance the car needs, right? Listen, it takes a percentage of the maintenance and it's covered under this plan, right? Which is free, it's part of your car purchase. It's not, prepaid maintenance. Somebody has a choice usually if they want to get the severe driving schedule, if they want to get, a regular schedule, but it still doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover that alignment, right? Some of them do, some of them don't cover wipers. You know, cars need that stuff. None of them cover tires. Let's be honest, unless you have wheel and tire for damages, they don't cover tires. And there's a lot of things that, you know, if they probably sold a maintenance plan that covered everything, it wouldn't be affordable, right? You know, I used to laugh at the when I was with Mercedes and in '03, so it was 2 years before they ended the maintenance. The advisors there wouldn't sell anything. And it was like 4 years, 50,000 mile, you know, free maintenance or whatever the case was. Like the book said, bring the car in once a year. Well, the tire manufacturer said every 6 months to rotate the tires. So I said, well, why aren't you bringing people in? And they're like, well, you know, I said, you should bring them in for a tire rotation and charge them. Oh my God, are you crazy? But you know, these customers with 20,000 miles having their tires rotated once
Yeah,
and they need tires, right? And then the ML at the time, all-wheel drive, whatever it is, right? You know, the SUV they had, it needed brakes at 20,000 miles, four-wheel brakes, right? You didn't rotate the tires, and now it needs brakes, and that was not covered. And those customers, you did the B service, they got surveyed. So now I'm telling you, hey, Steve, you need $1,800 with the tires, and you need $3,000 with the brakes. You're like, why? And I'm like, they're not covered. Well, everything's covered. No, but not everything is covered, right? Guess what? You got a zero on that survey, right? You were set up for failure from day one, right? Now
absolutely.
BMW, I think, did a better job, but they have flaws in there. You tell a customer at 25,000 miles in his BMW lease, that three-year lease, that 25, 30,000 miles, he needs tires. They lose their shit. I
Yeah.
don't. Oh, it's a lease. I'm not paying for tires. Your car, the tires are bald. Everything's covered. No, it's not. Not everything is covered. You know, and that's where I say that's where dealerships are getting the short end of it, and we're doing it to ourselves too. Like our salespeople and sales department be educating the customers when they sell them, and we should be educating them when they first come in, because it's basically a setup for failure. Is really what it is. And then,
Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
sorry to leave.
no, I was gonna say, and then you have a time like at post COVID when people were buying their own leases, right? And these cars were sludge buckets, right? You know, and they buy their own lease, and then the engine will blow up, and they're like, "Well, why'd it blow up?" Well, how many times did you change the oil when you had the car? I followed the book. I changed it twice. Okay, well, you just bought a sludge bucket, like, you know, and they'd be mad at me, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You know, you followed the maintenance plan by the manufacturer. Don't get mad at me. So, you know,
When I bought my first Wrangler, 'cause I had the craziest I was working for a dealer, and I told him I wanted to buy a Wrangler, and he goes, "You're gonna buy this one." And I said, "Okay." And I was young, I was new in the business, you know, training. He goes, "You're gonna buy this one." And I go, "Why? Is it the oldest one on the lot?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's at least had one anniversary already, so you're gonna buy this Wrangler." And it happened to be, you know, crank windows, manual,
right,
you know, it's terrible. But I bought it because I wanted a Wrangler. And then I said, and I got the Jeep Wave program, so I got free maintenance. But when I would go in, because I did a lot of traveling, I would always ask for the extra stuff, right? And
right,
I would ask for the balance along with the rotate, and I would be the guy that would get the extra additive in my engine or get this or that done. And none of the advisors would. They were like, "Why? Why do you do that?" And I go, well, I have a Wrangler for one, and I drive around the United States. I'd like to have a nice smooth ride. So please balance my tires. Or, you know, you're going to rotate the tires, and if you don't balance it, you take a chance. So for 30, 40, $50, it was worth it to me not to vibrate from Tampa to back in the day, I was living in Key West all the way to Maine. You know, I didn't want a 2 day drive vibrating. So I would balance my tires. It was worth it. And so, and I also did that as an example that there are other people besides just crazy Steve that want to maintain their cars. And so even when it is a prepaid, it's a how would you say, the manufacturer warranty maintenance or whatever, the oil change from the dealer, there's so many things that the customer can have, like you said the last episode. I love that idea of having the windshield guard or the mud flaps, or I got so much junk, you know, swag. I'm a Jeep owner, so I love all that stuff, and I think we just miss that. We miss out on that, and I think it's the issue keeps getting pushed forward because of that free stuff. Oh, you don't have to buy anything. Don't spend any money, and our advisors buy into it. But then there is the CSI component of it. So I'm trying to get good CSI for the first 3 years, but when it really counts, I get crappy CSI because the customer didn't know that there was going to be an expense at 36,000 miles.
Well, like I said, it just makes us look like the bad guys, and I don't think long term it's great for retention. I mean, if you
Right.
think about like, I want to keep the customer way past the time their warranty's over. That's the goal
Exactly.
here is, you know, buy your car from me, service it with me, buy your next car from us. That's kind of what we want to do, right? And if you know, and I say we, but in the service department and the advisors, you have to be strong in your convictions and have to be able to explain it to you. But that's not the path of least resistance, right? The path of least resistance, just agree with everybody and just shut the hell up because you're right. You don't want a bad survey. You know, when you look at these things, you can like rephrase it like with the Mazda example. Hey, we're gonna have your tires off. We're gonna be rotating them. Normally, a balance is 49.95. I can do it for 29.95. You save another $20. So this prepaid included maintenance is a way for people to save money on stuff they have to pay for, right? If you do it right, if you market it right.
Correct.
Again, I have your wheels off the car. Again, if a BMW, they cover brakes. That's the one thing about BMW. Funny though that they don't replace rotors anymore. You cut them. Right, because they
But you
found out
cut
we're
them.
getting yeah, you cut rotors on a BMW, which is unheard of in the German world, right?
Correct.
The manufacturers, you don't cut rotors. You Americans aren't qualified, right? You don't know how to cut a rotor. So they've been replacing them all the time, right? They've realized the expense that was involved, and now you can cut them. Imagine that. It's not for your convenience, by the way, Steve, right?
Exactly.
It's for their expense, right? People don't realize it's all the expense for the manufacturer
And
when
somehow
they come.
it's included in the cost, right? You're
Right,
paying
you're
for that
paying for
along
it,
the
right?
way.
Right.
Yeah, it
It's not
just
free.
does us it does a disservice to everyone, and I think it puts our advisors on the defensive too, because again, I apologize to everybody because all I do is talk about training. But if they're not trained and they don't understand how do I make that presentation, congratulations for buying the prepaid. You did a great job. You bought from us, and we put this on your car. We did this for you, and making the customer feel like they did a good job, and the reason you just saved 20 something dollars today because of the purchase you made or because of that. If they don't have that in their toolbox, they're just sitting there like, I don't know. Well, somebody told me I had to. It's in your book. Again, it goes back to did we give them that info? Probably not. Probably not.
Volkswagen has it too. I think they give you 2 or 3, 10,000 miles now. And my one store, the advisor recommends oil changes at 5,000 miles, tire rotation at 5,000 miles. And the mailers are such, and we put the stickers in the window for those to let them know every 6 months, 5 months, 5,000 miles, 6 months, 6,000 miles, whatever you pick. And he's getting people taking him up on it because you know, and Volkswagen's a great product, don't get me wrong, but you don't go 10,000 miles, you're 3 or 4 quarts low on oil. You
Yeah.
burn a quart of oil every 1,500 to 2,000 miles in a normal range, right? And Volkswagen doesn't cover the oil under the maintenance plan because they consider it consumption. BMW is well, BMW, if you have a BMW and your oil light comes on, you pull in the drive-through, they'll give you a quart of oil. They'll put it in your car, 2 quarts, whatever. They used to drive me crazy. I thought customers should pay for it or warranty should pay for it. And I went to the manufacturer one time and I was like, "Can I write up an RO and charge you for this?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, does the customer get a survey?" They go, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to take that chance, right? Just a quart of oil, right? For $9, right?" So, but they've realized the guys that aren't drinking the Kool-Aid from the factory, my other store doesn't do it. They don't sell alignments, right? So they don't like to sell alignments because you have all these cameras on a car now.
But
And
don't
if
get me
the
started. Don't get me started on a Volkswagen and alignment
so
and what
so
these
if the
let's go.
rear wheels are out of alignment, then you have to adjust all the cameras,
Yes.
and it becomes a $400 affair, right?
Exactly.
So the guys in Ardmore won't recommend an alignment because they don't want to get caught in that pickle, right? Where the guys in Langhorne, they run it over an alignment rack and they sell alignments all day long, right? That's all you have to do. And they're at like 27, 28% penetration on alignments,
Exact
where the other stores are 3.
Those are crazy. I get into it with VW people all the time. We have these spirited conversations where we can't because we always talk about would you like fries with that? Would you like to do an alignment? I sell more alignments than Hunter has in their so our service advisors sell more alignments because they just ask, right? But VW people give me the hardest time.
Yep.
Well, Steve, we can't do a maintenance alignment. It's
Yes, you can.
$500. And I go, time out, right? And then I have to call like 16 VW experts to let them know
Right.
you can do a
Yep.
VW maintenance alignment. And quite frankly, if it does require the back wheels to be adjusted, good job, because you just saved that customer a set of tires.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think it's funny as we're talking about it, I think I'm gonna put one of those alignment checkers in the drive-through there, so that they can see that the front is good and the back's good, so that they can feel confident selling that $169 alignment.
Hey, you know, the convention's coming up, the NADA convention, and I was with my buddy a couple years ago. We were walking around, and he was talking about buying those alignment check machines. And my stance is F those alignment check machines. Just ask, right? And so I'm in the Hunter booth with my buddy, and he's building 5 stores for his company. And so he was trying to buy 5 of those alignment check machines. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? I mean, it's costing you a fortune. And the Hunter guy threw me out. He's like, get the F out of my booth. I'm like, just hire me one time. I'll come in and teach your people, and you have to spend all that money. And yeah, he tossed me out, but that was pretty good. That was
The
pretty good.
visuals work sometimes, and again, when you get into stores maybe with prepaid maintenance and you get these with the factory included maintenance, probably not a bad idea to have something visual to show the customer. Probably not, because it's hard to sell them an alignment just because you're recommending because it's 12 months, right? But I think we have a Jag Land Rover store that has one of those alignment checkers. You just slap them on the wheel and roll it a little bit, and the Volkswagen store does too. We have a one you drive over in one of our stores. They're not terribly expensive. Some of them, I wouldn't mind doing it if it's gonna, especially that Volkswagen store. Just chatting about it. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'll talk to Tread Spec when I go to, or Traction. I mean, with Traction when I go to NADA and
Yeah.
see if I can get a deal on it. But
Well, I think what's interesting to that point, I have a dealership, a Honda store. I think they have 9 lanes, and they've got 9 check machines. So every
yeah,
car that comes in, all of
right.
the lanes gets a drive over. It's the Hunter drive over. Nothing wrong with everything works. They got it up. It's beautiful. It says red and all this. It boils down to, did you ask?
What's the
Did you
percentage
ask
of
the customer?
alignments? What percentage of cars get alignments?
Exactly. And I can personally have my stores have a higher rate than what the check machine has if
Yep,
we're focused on
yep,
selling alignments. Because even that store, I love them to death. They'll go for a while and they'll sell alignments like going out of style, and then it kind of falls off, right? And so if somebody isn't watching, it doesn't matter how much money you spend on the drive. If somebody's not auditing the alignments or the outcodes, it doesn't change. It doesn't change the number. So again, I kid around about the alignment check machines. I think they're valuable. Bottom line is somebody has to ask the customer.
yeah.
I was at a store recently, and they had the check machine, and everybody was super happy, excited about it. But they had the screen that the customer looked at on the advisor's desk. They turned it off.
Of course, of
It's
course.
annoying to the customer. I mean, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the story. It's funny you say that because that's really it's so true. But the I think that when you're doing that, I think before we had the training, we were probably at 3, 4, 5%, maybe 5% of the ROs, customer pay only ROs were getting alignment. We've been consistently above 10% since we had the training. But I have some stores that are 27, 28,
Yeah,
30%, 17%. But of course, there's a couple of them. The one Volkswagen store, to be honest, is at 3%. That's just, and it's never really moved, right? So, and I got a couple stores that are floundering in the thing, in the lower, mid to low, single digits. And I think that, there's definitely room for it, but yeah, it's all a matter of asking. Like I use the analogy, I mean, take the path of least resistance. And I think managers out there, and I think you just have to realize that, the human body is probably 75 to 80% water, liquid, right? And one of the properties of liquid and electricity, it will follow the path of least resistance, right?
there you go.
So you shouldn't expect differently from your employees because they're electric and they're water, right? So they're going to do that. So, you need to make sure that you put a process in place and a procedure in place. Would you like fries with that burger? I mean, McDonald's can do it for $15 an hour, right?
Absolutely,
If
absolutely.
you ever go to Best Buy, I mean, the $20 an hour kid behind the counter always tries to upsell you a warranty. Always tries to upsell you. Now they have a $99 a year club. They never miss.
Never,
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 never miss.
absolutely. It's
And they get paid
crazy.
20 bucks an hour. And I'm sure they get a spiff based on the warranties and the stuff they sell. But still, it's not like they're $80,000, $90,000 a year employee advisors. It's
When
crazy.
I was at camp, I had my RV, right? And I would go to Camping World, and they got a spiff. They told me if you would buy the warranty. So because they asked me, I bought a warranty for my lawn chairs, right? And so I got these cool lawn chairs, but they went through the flood that we had here in Tampa. So you know what I did? I took it back. I took it back. And they said you could bring it back for anything. I go, well, these chairs went through the flood and now they're rusty. I'm like, all right. And looked me up and gave me a new lawn chair. Like, what a
That's
deal,
awesome.
right? You know, what
That
a
is
deal.
awesome. I love it.
Hey, we are running long here, and I
Okay.
think you got to wrap it up with a GM tip of the day. What would you tell GMs about that?
Well, I'd say, if you wanna learn a little bit about your service department, then have somebody start tracking the alignments.
There you
Like
go.
just as a selling point, how many alignments do you do a day? Divided by the customer pay ROs and get a percentage, get a baseline, and then see if you can grow that business. Just pretend it's like wheel and tire in the finance office. Pretend it's like your paint sealant. Just try it. Just try it and see what happens.
And Steve Shaw says your goal should be at least 25%. How's that?
I agree. I agree 100%.
Awesome.
It should be 25%.
Awesome. Hey, we got to run. We got to let everybody go. I will catch up to you next week.
See you soon.
Fixed Ops Focus is brought to you by Common Sense. Like, subscribe, and share on all platforms. Side effects may include advisors missing easy upsells, ROs walking out the door, CSI scores tanking, techs chasing comebacks instead of billable hours, your competition stealing your customers, and that special guilt of watching your gross profit bleed out monthly. Results may vary. Consult your Fixed Ops director before ignoring this advice.